What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. Today we're talking Week 15 game preview for the Bears at the Packers. Right now the over-under for this one is pretty low. It's 40.5, and right now the Packers are favored to win by about 4. That gives us an implied point total of about 22 to 18. So still expected to be a pretty close game, but the Packers are favored at home. Let's get into the fantasy options here. Looking at the quarterbacks for the Bears, Mitch Trubisky, not a good start this week. The Packers allow only 26 in most points allowed against a quarterback for fantasy. He has been hot recently, but there's nothing like a nice trip to Lambeau Field to cool you down. In one of the lowest over-unders on the week, I'm avoiding the quarterback options in this game. That's a little bit of a sneak preview on the Packers side of the ball, but definitely not trusting Trubisky with my fantasy championship hopes on the line. Looking at the running backs, I generally have been off the Montgomery train. I think he's been pretty inconsistent as the year goes on, and he hasn't really been that good, but this is a very nice matchup for him. Packers are, I believe, number 5 on the year in fantasy points allowed against the run. Aged Adrian Peterson looked good against this run funnel defense last week, and it's a pretty safe bet that Montgomery will have a decent game on this week. If anyone scores a touchdown, I think it's likely to be Montgomery on the Bears side of the ball, so I think he's a good running back too this week. Tarik Cohen is more of a desperation flex at this point, just given his inconsistency, but do recall he did have 10 targets in week 1 the last time that they played the Packers, so he's not someone that you have to bench. It's just if you have a better option, you're probably going to not rely on him getting 10 targets again. It's just if you need to start him, you can feel at least a little comfort in that. Looking at the receivers, Robinson had 13 targets the last time the Bears played Green Bay. He was pretty much the only guy getting anything done in week 1 against the Packers. Now granted, the season has moved on and we've seen some things develop, but Allen Robinson at this point is pretty much someone that you're going to start every week regardless of the matchup, and I like him a lot in this game. I don't know that he necessarily gets a touchdown, but I think he gets you enough volume, especially in PPR, to make it worth starting. Where it starts to get dicey is when you look at Miller. So last time we saw Miller play Green Bay, he gave you a goose. Now, we know that Taylor Gabriel might miss another game, but Green Bay is a very bad matchup typically for fantasy wide receivers. So if I'm expecting Allen Robinson to still do well, I don't think that Anthony Miller is going to get much for you. I'm benching him if I can. It's not really a tight end to speak of here that you'd start for fantasy. Now, looking at the defense, this is pretty, again, low over-under. Expected to be a defensive battle. Now, Rodgers doesn't typically throw picks, but he does fumble, and I think you can start the Bears in this one, hoping for a fumble, a few sacks, and not a lot of points being scored. Okay, looking at the Packers side of the ball, Rodgers was featured in my sets this week. He's been highly inconsistent. It's really only giving you 5 out of the last 13 weeks in which you're happy starting him. Yes, this is a game in Lambeau, but the Bears are much better against the quarterback than the running back. I think this is pretty clear that if anyone's going to do well in this game, this is going to be an Aaron Jones in a defense game. So I'm trying to avoid Rodgers in my playoff matchup, especially if there's a good start on the waiver wire this week. I just mentioned it for the running backs. Give me all of the Aaron Jones this week. He's been up and down, but similar to Amari Cooper this year or Brandon Cooks in years past, you can't predict what games he's going to go nuclear, and if he goes nuclear on your bench, you're not going to ever be able to forgive yourself doing that in week 15. So start Aaron Jones this week with confidence. Chicago gives up 15th most points to the running back. I'm definitely going to take that, and I don't think you can really mess with Jamaal Williams at this point. Aaron Jones has really started to take away his upside with the passing volume. Jamaal Williams hasn't been involved in the pass game nearly as much in the past couple weeks, so I think Aaron Jones is the only running back you're starting. On the wide receiver side, you're not allowed to bench Davante Adams. Whenever you think he's going to have a bad game, he can still surprise you with 2 touchdowns. So I'm not benching Adams, but I'm not starting anyone else, and I'm not starting any tight ends here. So this is pretty much, if you have Aaron Jones or Davante Adams, you have to start him. It's not really anyone else on the offense that I'm looking to start. But I am excited about the Packers defense this week. The Packers are at home in a low-scoring game. I think they're a great play against Mitchell Trubisky. I think they'll force a few turnovers and get a few sacks. So overall, I think the Packers defense are very strong this week. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this time of year can be incredibly stressful, and trying to take a little bit of that stress out of your life, helping you make the right lineup choice and get you to the fantasy championship. And we hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you in the next one.